Hi, I'm just going to give you a few tips on how to run a successful crowdfunding campaign. So I'm Jess, I'm the founder of Crowdfund 360. We're a crowdfunding consultancy that has helped clients run successful crowdfunding campaigns for the last 5 years. Done 73 campaigns in that time. I don't recommend anyone ever do that many in 5 years. And we help them by doing campaign management, intensive workshops, and online training so that they can run their own campaigns. So I'm here today to give you a few tips from what I've learned over those 73 campaigns. If you have any questions, you have my email address there and my website, so just get in contact and say that you watched this video. So as you know, what crowdfunding is by now, it's the practice of funding a project by raising many small amounts of money from a large number of people within a certain amount of time, typically by the internet. But using a combo of online and offline really works the best. And the certain amount of time is really important. So everyone has that friend that says, I'll give you money next week, and next week never actually happens. Same with crowdfunding. 35 days is the optimum amount of time to run your crowdfunding campaign. Crowdfunding campaigns can be used for so many different things. So all of these different projects have been crowdfunded and were our clients. Feel free to pause it and take a look in more depth at some of them. We've got fashion, we've got eco, we've got gadgets, we've got children, we've got health, we've got animals, we've got arts, we've got products, we've got alcohol, we've got books, we've got films, everything. My favorite one is the one at the far bottom corner, which was $10,000 to build a gummy bear pyramid for a Burning Man festival. Really, crowdfunding can work with a lot, but let's just have a look at some of them in particular. Back in 2017, the Reef Project was making an underwater reef to repopulate the crayfish population in Devon. And they raised £30,500 from 83 supporters, and they were able to build their artificial reef. Since then, they've gone on to build more reefs, and they've gone on to win several awards, all because they got enough money and enough PR and traction from their first crowdfunding campaign in order to prove their point. Next up, we have El Naj. This is just one of the fashion campaigns that we have run. Last year, they raised £22,500 to make their new swimwear made from environmentally friendly materials. Now, they got their 277 backers. They launched, they delivered all of their swimwear. Then just a few weeks ago, or a couple of days ago even, they have just launched their new swimwear for 2022. They used their 277 backers' opinions to come up with the styles for 2022, to come up with the color combinations and the designs, so that then obviously you know that the majority of your customers are going to buy your product because they have helped co-create the new designs. And that works really well with crowdfunding because, yes, it's got the word crowd in it, but ideally we're creating a community, not just a crowd. Another campaign here for a gadget we did, a switch bike, an electric bike. You can put it on your own bike to turn it into an electric bike. They raised over $1 million here. They have run so many crowdfunding campaigns now because they know how to do it. Every new product they launch, they do it through crowdfunding. What's the point of trying to launch it another way? They've got this down to an art, as you can see there, 2,095 backers. So what is crowdfunding and what is this art that we talk about? It is the combination of strategy, creative content, and audience psychology. So how can we make people buy into our crowdfunding campaigns? Crowdfunding is definitely not magic, luck, or easy. It is anything but that. So most campaigns fail. In the UK, only 18% of campaigns hit their target. In other countries, it is lower. And even just one spelling error decreases your chance of being funded because people just subconsciously, with the psychology, think if you can't even spell that name, you can't even build the product. You know, how can I trust you? But on the good side, once you cross half of your goal, you have a 95% chance of success because success breeds success. People want to believe that other people are buying into it too. And then lastly, my favorite fact, 42% of funds are raised in the first and the last 3 days of the campaign. And you'll see this later on in this presentation, but it is so true. It's the hype at the beginning and it's the urgency at the end. So we work on a 6-stage process with our clients, and 5 of those stages come before you even launch your crowdfunding campaign. So I'm just going to give you some of my best tips through those stages. When it comes to planning, my top tip is get a team. Campaign teams with 4 or more people raise double that of solo campaigners, because you've all got friends and networks that have got their own friends and networks, and they've got different complementary skill sets to you. So really think about getting some other people on board, and honestly think to yourself, what am I not good at? Or what do I just not like doing? And how can I find someone to fill those gaps for me? Platforms are so important. I'm just going to say it here. You have to choose the right platform. You have global platforms like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, which are great if you want to deliver your product globally. But if your product is not being delivered globally, I wouldn't use one of those platforms. You're going to be a small fish in a giant ocean. If you have a more female-focused audience, use Indiegogo. If you have a male-focused audience, use Kickstarter. That's my top tip for that situation. But otherwise, if you're using a platform, if you want to have an audience only in your country or one particular country, then use the major platform of that country. So in the UK, it would be Crowdfunder. If you have a more social focused project and your social is more important than your business angle, then I would consider using Chuff. Storytelling tip is show everything through imagery. The average word count for a very successful crowdfunding campaign is 300 to 500 words. Words can be misinterpreted. Images, much harder to be misinterpreted. So where possible, always use images. You'll have one video on your page, but don't bother putting more on. Videos mean I have to click play. Images, I'm automatically having to see them whether I like it or not. My trust tip. Crowdfunding is all about trust and psychology. Get other voices involved. Yes, you think your project's great because you've been working on it and it's basically your baby, but we need to hear that other people think it's great too. Customers, influencers, mentors, anyone possible. Get them to give some sort of testimonial, again, ideally with pictures and words, so that we can believe that other people are already buying into this. No one wants to be the first one to buy into something. And that's really where this comes in. If you look at these 2 restaurants, which one do you want to go in? You're taking your friends out for dinner. They're both serving the same food. Do you want to go in the one that's completely dead and silent? Or do you want to go into the one that's quite busy and bustling? The psychology is exactly the same in crowdfunding. No one ever wants to be the first backer. No one ever even wants to be the first commenter on like a Facebook post or something. So make sure you back it first. Your best friend, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your mum, your dad, everyone that you know and just trust loads backs it before you start putting it out to the audience. Again, if you look at this, which of these campaigns would you most likely back if it was for the same thing? So the psychological term is the green bar effect. So your primary network is your first 35% of your funding. That's really the people that you know. They know you, they love you, they trust what you say. They're going to give you money regardless of whether you're, setting up a dog shelter or making a new brand of peanut butter. They just trust that you're going to make it work. Your secondary network is who's going to take you from that 35% up to 65%. And those people, they know you, but not as well. They're the friends and the family of all your contacts. They're the people who engage sometimes on your social media posts and maybe sometimes send you a message. They've maybe bought something from you before, but they're not your key ambassadors. And then lastly is your tertiary network. Those people are not giving money until you hit at least 65% funded. They're people that you don't even know that your brand doesn't even know yet. And they're also people that, the silent lurkers of the email list and the social media following. They maybe know you there, but they've never interacted with you. This group of people is where we can really make the big bucks with crowdfunding. But they're not going to give until we've hit at least 65% of our funding goal. So what we need to do before we launch is A, make sure we've hit that 35% through our initial networks, and B, we're ideally as close as possible to that 65% in the first week or so. It might scare you when you think about how many people you need in your crowd in that situation, But the key thing that you need to think about when you're doing your crowd building, and my biggest tip ever, is like, you're not asking everyone for cash. You also want to ask them, who do I know that has contacts? Who do I know that has influence? Who do I know that has passion? Who do I know that has time? Who do I know that has expertise that I can use? Because if I ask them for that, it's going to make my life much easier. If I ask someone, can you share this in your newsletter? And their newsletter has 500 people who may all be interested in what I do, then I've just saved myself 500 individual asks for cash. And then I've got a lot more time to ask other asks. So especially when you're raising the larger amounts of money, identifying what different people in your network can be asked for is really important. You also have to think how big your crowd is going to be. So you lose people at every level. We know that: sales funnel, awareness funnel, everything. What you want, though, is how many people you need to pledge. So if you're raising £10,000 and your average pledge is £25, then you would need 400 people to pledge. So if you need 400 people in that bottom pledge bit and you lose people at every level, you can work out how many people you need to engage and how many people you need to be aware of what you're doing before you even start launching the campaign. So using these statistics, you can work out how big your mailing list needs to be before you launch. It's boring. It's the bit no one actually likes to do, but 100% it helps you succeed at crowdfunding and makes your life a lot easier. This is my favorite worst campaign. So number one, it's for sportswear. Why would you ever buy sportswear that you don't know what it looks like? Why would you buy most clothes if you don't know what it looks like? There were no pictures of clothes on the page. Secondly, if you look, they've got 2 days left. They've only had 2 supporters. They've raised 0% of their funding goal. Does that make you want to give money? Yes or no? Also, if you look, it's a all or nothing campaign. So it's only going to be funded if they hit their target. So are you going to bother wasting your time? Do you think they're going to hit their target? You can scroll down, you could look at more, but are you going to bother? Realistically, we've made up our mind on a campaign in 8 seconds. And it's the same for everyone. So it's the same for us looking at this one now, and it's the same for anyone who's going to come and look at your campaign when it's live. So I dug a bit deeper. They did not post it at all on their Twitter platform. So even though they only had 6 followers, those 6 followers never knew they were crowdfunding. And then on their Facebook page, they posted about it once. And as we know, a Facebook post has a 4% chance of turning into a pledge. They had 48 people following them on Facebook, meaning 2 people would have backed their campaign. And 2 people did back their campaign. So I guess that statistic makes sense. However, what's really interesting, number one, January, worst month ever. Everyone is broke. And you're posting it on the 28th, just before payday. Again, everyone is really broke. People like to start exercising in January. I agree, that's a good thing. But this means they already need the clothes in January. They don't need them later on in the year. They would have needed them now. So it's really important, again, to time your campaign well. And when you're communicating your campaign, everywhere your audience is. Email, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, press, online, offline, guerrilla marketing. The more creative you can make it, the better. You will always get more pledges when it's more direct to me. So in my email inbox, in my Instagram DMs, whatever. But obviously email, you can automate that a hell of a lot easier. But nevertheless, whenever you post, you will see the correlation of money coming in. Why limit yourself only to online as well? If you are doing swimwear, go to the beach, go to the swimming pools. This is where your target audience are hanging out when they're not on their phone. If you're doing electric bikes, go to where people are parking their bikes, go to cycle-friendly cities, go to cycle cafes, go and speak to people in real life, because we all know the power of human face-to-face interaction, especially after COVID. We definitely value that a lot. And that is what's really going to bring in not only your funds for your crowdfunding campaign, but also your ambassadors and the people who will go out there and do the marketing for you by spreading it word of mouth. Here's an example of the sunglasses campaign. You need to have some sort of incentive to get people's email address before you launch. And then my pre-launch tip is you need to push that out there. push your teaser, push your website, getting that email launched. Because if you can't get emails, then you're not going to be able to get money. And so whatever we do is we can test the different marketing strategies for getting these email addresses coming in, because if it didn't work, we're not going to use it in the crowdfunding campaign. So once you're live, as I said, the finances, you raise most in the first 3 days and the last 3 days. Your finances are going to follow this curve. Week 3, money's not going to come in as much because it's not new and exciting, but it's not nearly over. But don't give up, because you will see the steep curve going back up as it's, oh dear, I have to buy it right now, mentality starts kicking in. But more important than the finances are the emotions. This is basically your week by week emotional chart when you run a crowdfunding campaign. As I said, 35 days, optimum chance of success. So we do 5 weeks of campaign. And I show this to all clients before they launch. And then I remind them of it at the end of their campaign. And everyone just has a bit of a laugh and is like, yeah, pretty accurate. Some people say the poop emoji lasted longer, but I don't want that too much on the screen. First week, great. Last week, great. Tired. You are going to be exhausted. You are going to be putting your all into it if you want to make it an excellent follow-up. Because if you do an excellent follow-up, you can keep going back to that group of people again and again, year on year, for their feedback, for their criticism, for their advice, and obviously for their money. So make sure you export the backer list. Make sure you keep them updated every 2 to 3 months. Update them on where the product is in the process. You know, they've pledged to a project. They want to see that project go through all of the stages until the end. Update them, inform, engage them of the hardships and the good things. So if the council are holding you back from doing something, tell them. If something is held up in customs, tell them. If you won an award, tell them. You know, they want to go on that journey with you. So thank you very much. Again, as I said, if you have any questions, there's my email address. Shoot me over an email, and hopefully I can help you and you can run a great crowdfunding campaign. So good luck.